We look back at the life of former Congressman Lee Hamilton, whose foreign policy expertise and willingness to work across the aisle made him a revered political figure. He was 94. A bill making its way through the State House would make it easier for veterinarians to become licensed in Indiana, but it may not be enough to solve a growing issue. And Bloomington staff and the City Council are at odds about continuing summer closures of Kirkwood Avenue to traffic. We'll have these stories and more ahead on Indiana Newsdesk.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Maller Grodner Plummer Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Maller Grodner Plummer Attorneys, understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis, on the web at lawngp.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. Smithville, fiber internet, security solutions, and voice in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Bunger and Robertson, attorneys at law since 1949, utilizing experience, knowledge, and resources to help individuals and families recover in personal injury matters. Information at lawbr.com. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Long-serving Indiana Congressman Lee Hamilton died Tuesday evening at age 94. He's remembered not just for his influential tenure during more than 3 decades in Washington, but also his impact at home and at Indiana University, where the School of Global and International Studies is named after him. Ethan Sandwise has more on Hamilton's legacy.
For 34 years, Hamilton represented Southern Indiana as a moderate and bipartisan Democrat. He chaired the House Committees on Intelligence and Foreign Affairs. Hamilton's influence was particularly felt in foreign policy, where he advocated diplomatic solutions for America's conflicts.
Oftentimes, policymakers are too willing to reach for the gun. They have to reach for the gun not first, but last. Let's try diplomacy and talking first.
He refused to pursue impeachment against Ronald Reagan and George Bush Sr. after leading an investigation into the Iran-Contra affair, saying it would have been bad for the country.
Let me echo the sentiments expressed by the gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Hamilton, and thank him for the privilege of having served with him on the committee.
All the while, Hamilton kept an open door with his constituents. He joked that he had walked in more small-town parades than anyone else in America and responded personally to letters from voters. After retiring from Congress in 1999, he served as vice chair of the 9/11 Commission. He once said his proudest achievement was getting a post office in every community in Indiana that he could. His successor, Barron Hill, says Hamilton's were big shoes to fill.
He was honest. He was smart. He had huge integrity. He's exactly the kind of person that we want serving in Congress. And I tried to follow in his footsteps.
Barack Obama awarded Hamilton the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2015, the highest civilian award issued by the federal government.
He helped guide us through the Cold War and into a new era of American leadership. A man widely admired on both sides of the aisle for his honesty, his wisdom, and consistent commitment to bipartisanship.
Born in Florida but raised in Evansville, Hamilton distinguished himself in sports before politics, earning a spot in the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame for his career at Evansville Central High School and DePauw University. He raised 3 children with his wife Nancy, who died in 2012. His nephew John Hamilton, former mayor of Bloomington, remembers his uncle for his extreme dedication to public service.
He would get to the office by 6 a.m. He would put in typically a 12-hour day, be home for dinner with the family, and then read more hours after that. I mean, he was just a very, very hardworking person.
Hamilton remained active in retirement as a political columnist and as an educator at Indiana University. In 2018, IU President Michael McRobbie named IU's new international school in honor of Hamilton and his Senate colleague Richard Lugar. McRobbie says both men were down to earth and accessible to students.
These very bright students were able to mine the wisdom and experience for these two men. I heard multiple times just how much they valued it.
Colleagues prized those conversations as well.
I'd ask stories about, what this speaker was like, or this president was like, or this prominent senator was like, and he'd oftentimes have great stories about people that I'd only read about when I was growing up.
His most enduring legacy at the university may be the Center on Representative Government, which he founded right after ending his 17th term in Congress. Current executive director Valerie Pena says in the last years of his life, Hamilton worried increasingly about the decline of civics education and a growing divide between congresspeople and the constituents they represent.
At least in our discussions, he was bothered with the fact that so many voices were being dismissed.
Hamilton's family says he died peacefully at home without a long decline. He went to work the day before and had lunch plans next week with friends and colleagues. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Ethan Sandwise.
Indiana State Senator Shelley Yoder, a Democrat from Bloomington whose district includes all of Monroe County, appeared on WFIU's Noon Edition earlier today and had this to say about Lee Hamilton.
What a life, what an example for all Hoosiers, somebody who dedicated every ounce right to the very end in addressing serious issues facing Hoosiers, facing Americans, and serving this country so incredibly valiantly, and so much gratitude to this life well lived.
Protesters are demanding that Bloomington end its contract with Flock. It's a company running a nationwide network of license plate reading cameras. As Ethan Sandwise reports, Bloomington's police chief acknowledges the risks but defended Flock as a crime-solving tool.
Protesters at Bloomington City Hall last week demanded local government end its contract with Flock, worrying that despite safeguards, the system could be co-opted by federal immigration enforcement.
Bloomington is the focus of ICE or not. The city betrays our constitutional right to privacy and betrays the safety of our immigrant neighbors, friends, and family.
Chief of Police Mike Dekoff says that while there have been cases of that elsewhere, Bloomington requires anyone searching its data to have a license plate number, a case number, and a reason for doing so.
It is very useful technology, and I would say that if we do away with that technology and the ability for us to do it, that we will, I would say, compromise the safety of the citizens of Bloomington.
Dekoff says his department has 10 cameras around Bloomington. He says they've helped officers solve murders and child abduction cases. While the city says it has safeguards to prevent its system from being abused, ICE has accessed Flock elsewhere through friendly departments to skirt those protections.
Do other agencies probably misuse it? Yes. But there's a whole lot more information that other agencies could query to get a whole lot more information about someone than Flock.
Bloomington police say they don't assist federal government with immigration enforcement, although that could change if a bill compelling local governments to do so passes the State House. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Ethan Sandwise.
At Wednesday night's Bloomington City Council meeting, member Isabel Piedmont Smith said the city should end its contract with Flock.
Even if Mayor Thompson's administration tightens up the contract, I don't trust Flock to follow it, nor to keep camera images and associated data safe. In this national context of creeping fascism and increasing loss of personal liberties.
Councilmember Sidney Zulik also spoke in support of Bloomington High School students who have protested against actions by immigration and custom enforcement officials. Well, we're joined now by Shelby Brown for more headlines from around the state. Welcome to the show, Shelby.
Thanks, Joe. Convention center leaders say they need to take a step back from the proposal for a companion hotel after negotiations fell through on the former Bunger and Robertson property north of the current convention center. The city says the south parcels would also require negotiations. Dora Hospitality expressed interest in city-owned property to the south if it were donated with no other public subsidies, but that's up to the city.
The city's position on acquisition of its parcels north and now south is clear, and the CIB does not have the ability to meet any price or consideration it requires.
The Capital Improvement Board on Thursday voted to release Dora from the project so it can be determined what property they control. Dora will be invited back to the table after the CIB issues a new proposal with ownership of real estate and the need for parking. Last month's storm that dumped more than a foot of snow on the area has taken a large bite out of the county highway department's resources. Between labor, materials, and equipment, the snowstorm cost the highway department about $300,000. One issue has been restocking road salt. Even before the storm, the county was having issues getting treated salt.
We still have another 500 tons out there that we probably ordered the 1st of January that we haven't received.
The county says in just 2 days, it spent a little more than half of its $150,000 budgeted for overtime pay. Sidney Eskenazi, a longtime donor to Indiana University, died January 1st at age 95, just 4 weeks after the death of his wife, Lois. A 1950 IU graduate and 1953 Moore School of Law alumnus, Eskenazi helped fund major renovations to the Eskenazi Museum of Art and the Eskenazi School of Art, Architecture, and Design. Museum director Mindy Basal says the Eskenazi's philanthropy might have been focused on art, but the impact extends far beyond.
This is an essential kind of soul of the campus, and so to have that visibility, have that ability to share it more broadly is something that from a business student to a journalism student to anyone in between, now they have access to this.
In a statement, IU President Pamela Whitten called him a visionary philanthropist whose lifelong commitment to education, the arts, and the public good helped shape Indiana University and the state it serves. Indiana University Bloomington Provost Rahul Shrivastava is leaving the position to become interim vice president for student success. Shrivastava has been provost for 4 years, but the role of provost lost much of its administrative power after the chancellor position was created. Dean of the Hamilton Lugar School of Global and International Studies, John Chortree, will be the interim provost. The executive director of IU's Kinsey Institute appeared in an email that was part of the latest release of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. The 2012 email from then postdoctoral researcher Justin Garcia thanks Epstein for connecting on LinkedIn and suggests meeting to discuss scientific topics. Garcia said in a statement that at the time he was familiar with the Jeffrey Epstein Foundation's academic philanthropy, and he only later learned of Epstein's criminal history. There was no indication that Epstein responded. The Indiana House has passed a bill requiring data centers to share local governments 1% of their sales tax exemption savings. But as Clayton Baumgarth reports, while that may help sweeten the pot for communities that would host data centers, another provision in the bill may prove controversial.
If the bill passes as written, data center developments would be allowed to move forward without a public hearing if they are built on farmland that is considered less fertile. Those opposed to the bill say it would eviscerate local control over what could be built in certain communities.
It's concerning to see language that basically says whatever anybody wants to build, as long as you build it here, nothing you can do about it.
The Citizens Action Coalition doesn't view the sharing of 1% of sales tax savings as enough to offset energy consumption issues, but it would be up to municipalities to weigh those costs and benefits.
I think it depends on what does that 1% amount to? What else is involved in a local economic development plan for a community? But I think above all else, I'm not sure that changes anything.
Ultimately, Citizens Action Coalition wants a full moratorium on development until more regulations are in place. Nearly 30 data centers are currently proposed or under construction in Indiana. Another 13 have withdrawn due to public backlash. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Clayton Baumgarth.
A bill criminalizing doxing is heading to the House after passing in the Senate. Doxing is the act of posting someone's personally identifying information online with a harmful intent. The bill is in response to numerous lawmakers being targeted during the redistricting debate in December.
A lot of times it's very difficult to find the person that actually caused it. We understand that. But if they can, law enforcement would like to be able to track them down.
The bill would establish doxing as a Class A misdemeanor. If the person targeted experiences an injury or death, the charge is upgraded to a felony. And Indiana lawmakers are debating a stricter bell-to-bell ban on student cell phone use. The main concerns of the bill are over how schools would store devices, how much that could cost, and student safety. Indiana law already restricts student cell phone use during class unless permitted for instructional purposes. And Joe, they say the proposed changes are meant to eliminate loopholes and inconsistent enforcement.
Well, short session this year. We'll see what happens. Thanks so much, Shelby. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. The Indiana General Assembly is advancing legislation to make it easier to get a veterinarian's license, but it may not be enough to help a shortage of animal care practitioners in the state.
There's definitely times where I've had to tell them to try another vet clinic because I'm only one person and I can only do so much in a day.
This story and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
What is it you want?
Would you indulge me?
Quite something, isn't it, sister?
Scandalous, isn't it? Have I got a story for you? I want it all so much more.
You are really good at this.
I'm just getting started.
Maybe you're already a sustaining member, giving $5, $10, or $20 a month in support of WTIU. Thank you. This is a great time to consider again how much the station means to you, and then add a few extra dollars each month to ensure the programs you love will continue. Or if you're able, consider doubling your gift now to help us meet this moment. Every little bit makes a big difference. Thank you.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. City of Bloomington wants to end the program that closes Kirkwood Avenue to automobile traffic in the summer. But as Pat Bean reports, this week the Bloomington City Council and community members pushed back.
Last year, the council and the city agreed to close portions of Kirkwood to cars each summer for an outdoor dining program. The decision was, in part, an effort to offer business owners long-term stability. City staff now says the program needs to change.
City staff recommends that in 2026, we keep Kirkwood Avenue open to vehicles year-round. We enhance and expand the parklet program, and we shift resources towards micro-activation efforts that strengthen the entire corridor.
They say though residents seem to support a pedestrian-focused environment, closing Kirkwood isn't doing enough to support downtown vibrancy. They cite a study that shows that despite more programs on Kirkwood last year, the area saw a decrease of 8% in daily visitations. The city says its plan would create a safe, inclusive, vibrant, and economically strong corridor.
Seasonal closures provide value, but they expose limitations of temporary infrastructure and limited city resources.
But public commenters and council members didn't seem eager to give up the outdoor dining program.
The premise behind it was so that we wouldn't be here every year talking about this issue, so that we as business owners could prepare, invest, and provide an outdoor environment for customers and the community.
All of our restaurants that I consider institutions have activated the corridor. They're all locally owned. It's not chains. It's Lenny's, it's Nick's, it's the Village Deli, it's Uptown, it's Farm. Those are the ones that are invested in making Bloomington a better place, not just for pedestrians, but for the community.
Some council members also questioned the city's authority to end a seemingly well-liked program.
Overall, I'm so incredibly disappointed. It's really hard for me to even talk about it.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Pat Bean.
The City Council said it will discuss potential changes to the Kirkwood summer closure program in future sessions. A bill making its way through the State House would make it easier for veterinarians to become licensed in Indiana. But as Clayton Baumgarth reports, some feel this is a band-aid to the much larger veterinary care shortage issue.
On a cold February morning, large animal veterinarian Ashley Armstrong works on one of her first patients of the day, a horse named Rebel. Rebel is just one of many large animals Armstrong will see today, with appointments on the horizon for goats, cows, and whatever emergency call comes up.
I'm almost begging for another veterinarian to come in with me.
Armstrong opened her practice near Bedford, Regional Veterinary Services, back in 2008. Since then, she's seen firsthand that being a large animal vet isn't for everybody. There are irregular work hours that often happen outside, no matter the climate. Schooling is tough and competitive, and in a rural area, the pay isn't always the best. But the demand is there, even with 2 other large animal vets in a 10-mile radius to her.
I have new clients that call every day. If I can get to them, I definitely will in the schedule, but there's definitely times where I've had to tell them to try another vet clinic because I'm only one person and I can only do so much in a day.
Indiana has been grappling with a shortage of veterinarians for a few years now, both in large and small animal specialties. Senate Bill 56 aims to help by making it easier for vets in other states to become licensed here. If they're in good standing, those vets wouldn't have to take an exam to get their license. Armstrong has doubts that it'll help ease her workload.
I hope it helps to a certain degree, but as far as the shortage of large animal veterinarians, I'm not sure that that's going to cut it.
And the author of the bill, Senator Jean Lysing of Oldenburg, won't dispute that the legislation isn't enough to solve the larger issue of a vet care shortage.
It helps to solve what is an existing problem, and this can be done fairly quickly, whereas trying to figure out if we have the funding to expand the veterinary school at Purdue, that's a whole nother issue and not a quick fix by any means.
But it could help pick up some slack by removing some red tape.
Just like a nurse has to take an exam, a doctor, an attorney, everybody seems to have to do it. And that is cumbersome. And for some people, they would say it's not worth it.
Lysing worked with the State Veterinary Association to get the bill done in this year's shortened legislative session.
They asked me if I would carry a bill, it was Senate Bill 56, that would allow an out-of-state veterinarian who has passed the boards and is practicing in another state, but would want to come across and help in some of the areas where there's shortage in Indiana, and likely it would be in the border counties.
Purdue's College of Veterinary Medicine is one of 34 accredited vet colleges in the U.S., and according to the dean of the school, Dr. Brett Marsh, it's a challenge to get accepted.
Our Doctor of Veterinary Medicine program, we take 84 students each fall. We had 1,930 applications for those 84 slots, so it's very competitive.
Through this program, students are often exposed to what operating in a rural area would look like.
We're really looking for mixed animal practitioners in the rural areas because small animals will need attention in those areas as well. So it's making sure they're well-rounded in their education here and understanding what the opportunities are in the future.
But those students are likely to seek a higher-paying job in an urban setting to pay off their student debt. That's why Marsh believes the state should look into a loan repayment program for veterinarians that take a position in an underserved area.
I think that would help encourage veterinarians to work in areas that are considered underserved because as they leave our program, they may have student debt, and that's one way to relieve that debt.
Armstrong hopes that one day more students will move towards working with large animals in rural areas because to her, it's a critical part to the agricultural industry.
These rural areas is really the heart and soul of where our food animals are and come from. And in order to be able to provide food and for it to be safe for everyone to consume, I think it's very important that we have veterinarians out in rural areas.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Clayton Baumgarth.
Senate Bill 56 has passed the Senate and is awaiting approval in the House. The city of Bloomington is hosting multiple events this month in honor of Black History Month. The theme this year is A Century of Black History Commemorations.
History doesn't just exist in the past. Our lives, our systems, how our policies and our daily experiences are reflected in that. This month gives us a time and a space to tell that and a fuller, more accurate depiction.
Events will be starting this Saturday at City Hall with a showcase of local students, artists, and performers. It begins at 3:30 p.m. That's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Maller Grotner Plummer Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Maller Grotner Plummer Attorneys, understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. On the web at lawngp.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. Smithville, fiber internet, security solutions, and voice in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Bunger and Robertson, attorneys at law since 1949, utilizing experience, knowledge, and resources to help individuals and families recover in personal injury matters. Information at lawbr.com. And by WTIU members. Thank you.